It's high noon.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's time to talk about X-Wing miniatures by Fantasy Flight Games once again. And today we will be talking about the Kimogila expansion pack preview, which just came out as expected. The Kimogila was the next product number, so, that was next to come out after the gunboat. And in a couple of weeks it'll be the Sheath the Pede Shuttle, aka Phantom 2. So there's that to look forward. So we got some decent info about the Kimogila now. Not as much as I was hoping, compared to, the Assault Gunboat, which was basically everything. This isn't as much. We don't have the dial, for instance, for sure. Though the article does say that its 1 and 2 turns are red, so people were right. It can't turn for shit. And don't expect 3s to save you, because it has a salvage astromech slot. And hopefully FFG has learned their lesson about Unhinged and 3 moves. So the reason why I played McCree at the beginning there is because, first off, before we even get into the ship, a lot of time is spent on this article discussing the benefits of the new Bullseye firing arc. So let's cover that really quick. So, in case you forgot, the Bullseye firing arc reads, when attacking, if the defender is inside your Bullseye firing arc, the defender cannot spend focus tokens to modify defense dice or evade tokens to add evade results. And then there's a little indicator, and basically, while there is a cardboard indicator, there's an actual, arc inside the arc on the cardboard. It's basically the same as the little maneuver nubs. So if you need to figure out where you are, you can usually use a maneuver template or a range ruler inside your arc. That's not precise. Measure from the cardboard, I guess, and I don't know, maybe they've got a specific ruler, but I don't see that in the spread. Anyway, so that's Bullseye. Basically, Bullseye means token stackers are fuckled by the Kimogila. And how the Kimogila can apply that, we'll get into. A lot of people were concerned when it first came out, but at the same time, it's a very small window, so it's not necessarily a huge deal. And we'll get into some of that as we go on through the pilots and stuff. But it's important to note that while it says you can't spend evade tokens to add evade results, and you can't spend focus tokens to modify defense dice, you can still do other stuff with them. So if you could spend focus to do beeldy boop, that still works. For instance, Poe's ability should still work, because he doesn't have to spend, if he has a focus token, he flips one. Reinforced tokens still work, so Ozatucks are fine. This isn't going to hunt them directly anyway. But yeah, that's the Bullseye in a short version, so let's go ahead and move on to pilots. So let's talk about the Cartel Brute, our PS3 pilot, your lowest level generic, and the pilot that was first revealed in this pack. So it's 22 points. So, as I predicted privately to myself and to some people on some forums, the Cartel Brute at PS3 is cheaper than the PS1 Skurg. So that may help it with some of its things. It has a 3 primary weapon with a new little indicator to indicate it has a bullseye arc, a little couple chevrons over its function there. It's got 1 agility, 6 hull, 2 shields. Now, some people aren't happy about the hull to shields ratio. I would like to remind them that the B-Wing is a thing, and B-Wings got the shit kicked out of them by Jumpmasters with Plasma Torps. So, while Jumpmasters with Plasma Torps can't happen anymore, you may be able to do Kimogilas with Plasma Torps now, so you might, watch out for that high shield ratio. It makes you more vulnerable to crits, but remember, Plasma Torpedoes are a thing, and in fact, I believe they're in the Kimogila pack. Let me check the spread. Plasma Torpedoes are in this. Gee, I wonder what you're supposed to use with it. Now, its action bar has focus, target lock, barrel roll, and reload. So yes, this is the other ship that comes with the reload action. Since it can't advanced slam, reload's a bit clunkier on the Cartel Brute. You're really going to want to give it something like PTL or expertise, so it doesn't need to spend its actions on other stuff. Intensity kind of works because it can barrel roll, but that doesn't help it with reloading, and the lowest PS generic, the Cartel Brute, does not have an EPT. What it does have, though, is torpedo, missile, salvage astromech, and illicit slot, so that's a very good combination there. It's very reminiscent of the now nerfed Jumpmaster upgrade bar, but obviously no crew, so you can't use, any of those weird shenanigans. It's not got double torpedoes, so if you use extra munitions, you are using it for missiles. And it has the Illicit, of course, which is good, and the Salvage Astromech, which is why I say it's not going to have any good 3 maneuvers. Is the Cartel Brute worth anything? I mean, I guess as far as generics go, it's a little expensive. It's about the same price as a B-Wing pilot, though you get more actions, more upgrades, and more pilot skill out of it. But on the other hand, B-Wings aren't doing so good right now. So it's a bit of a wash, I think, especially considering the dial is not going to be as good as the B-Wing, which is saying something. But it's got a 4K at least, so it's not Lambda bad. And we'll get into the upgrades later. I think it's got some stuff to help it minimize how bad its rev moves are. In general, though, I guess the low level here seems to be you can take it as a cheap torpedo or missile platform. You know, you can, it's only 22 points, so you could easily fit probably 3 of these generics with a, you know, whichever astromech jump masters we're using lately. Sorry, I don't get into all of that, but you could fit that in there. You could EM and you could double cruise or double harpoon. You know, if you give it unhinged instead and you give it cruise, you can almost assuredly go a 3 forward for +3 dice. Maybe it's got a 4 forward, but we'll see about all that. So that's the Brute for the most part. So our next pilot up, revealed in the article anyway, is Dallin Oberos again, with a higher pilot skill and a new ability. They even talk about this a little in the article. Supposedly, Dallin Oberos, the original, may or may not have been killed on a job at Cato Nemoidia. Or was he revived as an evil cyborg? Or is it a guy using his name? We don't know. Well, here he is. He's the PS7 for 25 points. We don't know exactly what the PS5 is. It'll probably be 24, because it has an EPT. And we don't necessarily know what it's called. We think Cartel Enforcer, but we're not sure. So as said before, Dallin is PS7, he has an EPT, and he has the ability now of, at the start of a combat phase, you may acquire a target lock on an enemy ship inside your bullseye firing arc at range 1 to 3. So that's actually pretty good. There are a couple ways to shed target locks, such as the Lock 1 title before the combat phase. And for instance, you know, you could jam also. Generally that'll be in the combat phase, but this would let you possibly get around it by adding a target lock, for instance, that you could then shed for something else if you get jammed, or just, if you need a target lock on your munitions and you manage to slot them into that bullseye arc, not impossible since you have a barrel roll, you could, you know, still manage to be on target in your bullseye and, get your focus tokens, or your target lock to do munitions and stuff. Other than that, it's not a lot. It takes some work to do, but that's good old Dallin Oberos. And then we already knew basically the entire PS8 pilot, Tarani Kulda, 27 points. It's a little bit of a leap, but sometimes they're worth that. Her ability, and it is clarified it's a her in the article, is after you perform an attack, each enemy ship inside your bullseye firing arc at range 1 to 3 must choose to suffer 1 damage or remove all of its focus and evade tokens. As I said, 27 points. Has an EPT. Now, currently there's some debate over this. This is another one of the situations where FFG is probably going to have to FAQ this immediately. I'm pretty sure, given some recent FAQ rulings, the intent is if you can't pay the cost to do nothing, as established by pulse ray shields, so I'm pretty sure you can't pay a cost you don't have either. I know that there are instances where selecting 0 tokens is perfectly valid, and we have clarified that re-rolling 0 dice counts as re-rolling. You can choose to re-roll 0 dice because you can re-roll any number of your dice. But I'm pretty sure the intent here is supposed to be if you can't discard tokens, you have to take the damage. But it could be that it's more balanced than that, and the intent is either you always choose to shed tokens, or if not, if you don't want to shed your tokens, you have to take 1 damage. I don't know if that's more balanced or whatever. We'll see probably as it goes on. I would say that since you already got them in your bullseye firing arc, that's not as useful, but it could be annoying. You never know. There's not much else to say about Tarani other than that she's PS8 and has an EPT, so she can easily be PS10 with her bullseye firing arc and barrel roll. you could goof around at PS10, pulling off some shenanigans, dropping some bullseyes, getting some other stuff going there. Could be useful. It's only 27 points for their ace. And with VI, that's 28. That's a very solid 3 or 4 ship, list you could slot that into. So now that we've covered all the pilots that have been revealed, let's really quickly talk about the title. The title was also, I'm pretty sure, covered in all that, but let's just go over it again. Enforcer, it's a unique title for the M12-L Kimogila Fighter only. After defending, if the attacker is inside your bullseye firing arc, it receives 1 stress token. 1 point. So Enforcer, it's pretty cheap. It's passive. You have to be defending against somebody in your bullseye arc, so hopefully, you're killing them if they're in your bullseye arc. But it seems to be a defense mechanism for maybe if you don't VI or whatever up Tarani or Dallin so that they're high PS. If somebody goes before you, you punish them. It makes them think about dropping it on you, especially if they're not good at shedding stress. For instance, I've heard people talking about how gunboats will actually eat up Kimogila fighters, and I think they will because they've only got, 1 agility. So it's entirely possible that heavy alphas will take them out. But at the same time, the gunboat dial doesn't really shed stress well. It really doesn't want to be stressed. It's a lot like K-Wings in that respect. You will want to think about taking that pot shot if there's ships besides the Enforcer going on. So if you have, for instance, 1 Enforcer Kimogila, let's say Tarani, that's 28 points to add the title, 29 to VI or up to PS10. At the very least, then you've got a PS10 ship with effectively an AoE ability that could potentially cause damage. Doing 3 attacks, they can't spend tokens with barrel rolls. Which is something I should say, don't think I mentioned before, but it's still a 3-attack ship with a very useful arc ability. So, even naked, which is something I think they have over B-Wings, even naked, this is really effective if you can position it right, which is very good. It's not as reliant on upgrades as other ships. For instance, you can't run a naked gunboat. That's the word I'm looking for. You can't run a naked Star Wing. You at the very least have to put a little something on it, because otherwise it's just a 2-attack, 2-agility ship. And it can't even primary if it slams without the titles. In fact, it can't primary and slam with the titles, but you know what I mean. It can attack and slam. The only other upgrade card to talk about is the Alyssa that was finally revealed, Contraband Cybernetics, just like everybody thought. I'm pretty sure that's a sweet picture of a gank on the front. Anyway, when you become the active ship during the activation phase, you may discard this card to receive 1 stress or discard this card and receive 1 stress token. If you do, until the end of the round, you may perform actions and red maneuvers even while you are stressed. 1 point. So that's pretty good. It's pretty cheap, so it's affordable. It slots in well to the the Kimogila. So you want to K-turn and do an action, or you want to use those red turns and do an action. You can do it once, and you can probably do other stuff, higher levels. You can throw on those EPTs that might let you shed stress. You probably don't want to do that. But it's very useful. I also think they're trying to encourage people to put Jabba on the table, because Jabba, you can stick an illicit token on this, and then you can do Contraband Cybernetics twice. That's pretty good, and as established, you only need to put Jabba in the list somewhere. Once he's on there and he's put the token, it still works most of the time. But that's how it is. I think Contraband Cybernetics also works well on other ships, which is always a good plus. It's just, the unfortunate thing is you're going to have to double stress yourself. That's a pain. And I say you're going to have to double stress yourself because basically the only times you would ever use this is you've dialed in a red maneuver and are going to want to do an action after, or you are stressed and you need to pull a red maneuver already, in which case you might as well also do an action. I guess theoretically, if you were already stressed but wanted to do an action, so you dialed in a white maneuver, you'd also do that, but even then, you're still double stressing yourself. Unless you have some other kind of restriction that prevents you from doing actions, which you wouldn't, because that doesn't even help you. So yeah, it's literally just, you're stressed once, you really need to take an action, so you're going to double stress yourself. And then it's done for. I'm not really sure how cybernetics become discarded, but that's a question for another time. So that's basically all there is in the article. We don't have the dial. We don't know what Scrambler Missile does. though we can assume. We don't know what the new unique astromech does, unfortunately. That'll probably be pretty critical. There's some people eyeballing the fact that there's an extra weapons disabled token in the pack, for instance. And there are some other extra tokens, which is interesting. Other than that, yeah, that's it. Some people are immediately, rattling the saber. Oh my god, it has red turns, and it's only got 8 health behind 1 agility, and it's got a shitty hull to shield ratio. Oh my god, it's gonna be dead on arrival. I think that's too quick to call. Like I said, at the very least, you could run 4 naked, or basically naked, with maybe some extras, like maybe unhinged, so you can actually shed some stress. And you'd be okay. I mean, it's got the bullseye, so it's basically got reverse mods built in. Every shot that you get in that bullseye arc is the reverse of being modified. It's your opponent can't modify. It's very strong. I think really the issue is, as some people have said, it's just a balanced ship. It's not incredibly crippled, but at the same time, it's not, oh my god, what the fuck, it's gonna blow everything out of the water either. It's well balanced, it seems like. So, we'll see. Obviously, the dial and the other stuff is a very critical contender there. It's already on the boat, though, so it shouldn't be too much longer before people find out. In a couple weeks, we'll be probably getting the Sheathapede article, and then hopefully they keep that train rolling with the Resistance Bomber and the Silencer. It's kind of funny that those didn't get previewed first, though it makes sense since they were announced later. But obviously they have earlier product numbers, so it's interesting. But anyway, that's all there is to say about the Kimogila. I like them, even if I don't play a lot of Scum. They're kind of neat. I hope they do the Crate Gunship as a large base ship. I know that'll make some people pissed off, but whatever. I mean, just deal with it, guys. Deal with it, and deal with the fact that they're not going to do stupid ships even if they're canon, because they don't do anything. I'm sorry, I'm just annoyed. People were like, oh my god, we don't have the HH-87 Starhopper fighter. And I'm like, why isn't that? That should be in over the Kimogila. I'm like, it doesn't do anything. It's got 4 light lasers, so it'll be attack 2. It'll be like 2 or 3 agility. It's got average hull, and it doesn't have anything special about it. It would do nothing new. You want another swarm ship, kinda, that has different PS, maybe? What are you gonna do? You're gonna stick in some obscure-ass characters nobody liked from the Clone Wars, because that's the only people who flew it? Or more likely, because it's in time period, you're just gonna get some more new names from the RPGs? By the way, that's Tarani and Talon. Those are RPG book characters. But anyway, that's enough about that rant. That's not really going anywhere. That's just me being annoyed at people who don't understand game design. And if they want to do, unique scenarios, they should either just suck it up and buy the RPG books, which are a lot better tuned to that, or they can buy custom miniatures and just stick them on seek bases. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a like. If you have any comments about any parts of the video, from my opinions on the cards and mechanics to my completely off topic rants about what people want out of this game, go ahead and leave those down below. And obviously, subscribe if you want to see more videos if you haven't already. Thank you for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Or ladies and gentle beings, as they would say.